I'm Ruth Millman from the Historic District Commission of Farmington Hills, and I'm here in the John Garfield apple barn. Mrs. Cotter informed me this was an apple barn, and John Garfield probably built his house between 1831 and 1838. The Garfield family had been in this area, and pioneers usually gathered where their relatives were. So he left in 1838, a year after Nehemiah Lamb, the minister of the Baptist Church, left the area, and they moved up to Fenton. And he apparently was very taken with the Baptist religion, and he was followed by a John Cox. So this barn has been converted to a house, and it is rather sensational to see what they have done with a barn. And also, they collected a lot of rocks from the area, which are apparently significant, I understand, to the history of Farmington with the prehistoric people that were here before the Indians, I understand. I'm not sure, I can't prove anything, but that's the situation. So tell me about how you got this house and what the people that were here before you.
Okay, thank you. Well, in 1972, my husband and I and our 5 sons purchased this home from Lester Schreckenberg and his 2 sisters. I understand that the Schreckenbergs were children back in the 20s, and their parents bought this after it had been converted from the apple barn to a summer home for the migrant workers that came in and worked the apple orchard in this Farmington Hills area. And they used it as a summer home up until the 40s. And then he and his 2 unmarried sisters and himself moved in here and used it as a permanent residence. I am not informed as to the physical changes that the Schreckenbergs made when it had been converted from the barn to actual rooms to house the migrant workers. I don't think they did a whole lot, but when we bought it in 72, moved in 73, we made some, cosmetic and structural changes. And that's what we will probably see and talk about as we go through.
Well, we can almost trace Farmington history when she talks about this, because they had the migrant workers in here who would have been working on the farms in the area. And then it was sort of a resort area, and then it became a permanent residence as time went along. So the changes in Farmington affected the building as well. This is an absolute gorgeous room you have for a living room here.
Thank you.
Was the stairway original, or is that something you put in? They put in?
No, we did not make any physical changes in here. We did. The stairway is where it is. Everything is where it is. The fireplace was here in the 70s. We put in the windows on the west wall. This area had been from the fireplace all the way to here, had been closet. And so we took all of that down, pushed it back, and just used this closet space behind the stairway. We opened this doorway, giving us access to this little sitting room. And but everything else, of course, we upgraded. We added tile. There's all hardwood floors under all the carpeting in the house. And so that's all we did to this room.
So this is your living room, and then
yes.
You have a little den right off the...
Yeah, you come in the front door and you come in here. If you want to follow this way through the little doorway. Okay, so now as we enter into this room from a doorway in which we opened up from the formal living room into this small area. This smaller room was many things. At one time it was a library, which had bookcases behind you on each side of the window. We removed those and put in windows, which was also a reason why we added the windows on the stairway, because all that was behind us for a mile down was apple orchards. And it was a very beautiful sight. Of course, now we have homes there. So then we later converted it to a piano room to house the piano from the other room. But then as the boys got older, TV became important, so we turned it into a little TV room.
We can walk from here into your formal dining room.
Formal dining room, yes. And we put these doors in. In fact, they came from my oldest sister's home in Kentucky. We hauled them all the way back here to add to this old house. Okay, and as we leave the little room that is now a television room or a sitting room, come into what was the formal dining room. And of course, this space was always here, and again, probably created when the original rooms were divided from the barn structure. We really didn't do much to this room at all, except, wallpaper, paint, and etc. And being that I'm ready to make the next move, I don't have the furniture to show that it was a formal dining room. So we really didn't do much here. We again added a doorway. You see the door so that it would close off whatever activity was going on with the family and give us that. So if you go through this doorway, we'll be going into the kitchen and a breakfast room area.
And from here we can see outside to all the other buildings that were left on this property. This barn was left and a few other pieces were left. Then your husband gathered other stones when they did the subdivision that was on their land. We don't know when the stones came up or what they represented, although Ann Stolberg has some ideas about that.
Mm-hmm. That's true, Ruth. When they were excavating for the subdivision west of us, we didn't have the fence up then, and the contractors and the builders would come upon some big rocks and they didn't know what to do with them. And my husband, being very Celtic, said, "Bring them all over here." And so we do have some very large rocks that were rolled over, but still from this area. And that was like in the 80s when the subdivision was built. So now we're in the kitchen area, and this is probably the area in which we did the most changes in. When we first started, this area, of course, spaced out the way it is. The water system was there, the windows were there. This was the stairway to the basement. So what we did, and it was kind of awkward to have people coming in, going down the steps. So what we did is there was a closet behind it, so we flipped it. And we turned what was the basement stairway into a appliance pantry. And of course, these are all new cabinets. And this space is, pretty much the way it was. The only big difference, you don't want me to move, was this counter area was a doorway. And that space in front of me was a sun porch. And so when we show this room, you'll see it was a sun porch. And the doorway was on the right-hand side, on the east wall of the driveway. So we close that up, and then we'll see in a little while how we created a doorway on the other side of the house. And so this was here. The only thing we did was take the walls down, and the windows were all as is, and then we created an eating area over to in front of me.
Well, I love this because you can look out and see the buildings that were still here besides the rock. This one rock that we have here, I think it's got a map on it, but I can't read the map. And the other buildings, let's see, which ones were they? That one directly out is the dairy, you said?
That was the dairy building. And to the left, west, is an old shed. And then on the right-hand side, east, along the edge of the driveway, is the garage. Behind the garage was the original outhouse. And when we were doing all the outside work, we did tip it and cement it and put it back in its place. So with that kind of preparation, we were able to save all 3 outbuildings.
The view is just magnificent here from the kitchen. Now I guess we're going to go to the basement next and show them how all the things that are down there.
Okay, well, come on, Ruth, and we'll come over here and I can start to show you some of the original structure and some of the heavy barn beams that we took from other places and brought down here. These are all some of the old original beams that came from the 4th story, where they would bring in the big apple crates and store them. This is, of course, the original chimney that's from the fireplace upstairs. Again, we didn't do much here except add storage spaces. You can see these are the original brick walls, brick and cement walls.
They're stone, actually.
Stone.
That period they used a lot of stone. You can see the stone, and there's more stone that you can see in here.
Yeah, and all the outside walls, the stone from the foundation of the barn is what it is.
Do you want this closed or open?
So that's that, and of course you can see the stone walls and, like I said, all that. And that's the furnace and tool room. And again, we added all the barn wood that we found to add to the decorations of the, and also to keep it and to maintain it and to use it in the home.
Let's go look at that citron that you have.
Okay,
that you converted to a wine cellar. I think that's sensational.
Okay, on the other side of this room. Well, come on, Ruth, and I can start to show you this area over here, which is the entrance to a space that we created to utilize the original cistern. So what my husband and his friends and our boys did was they broke through, and you can see the depth of that barn wall that you filmed back in the other room, and they broke through and they created an entrance to the wine cellar. And I might mention at this time that all of the bricks on the outside and on the inside of this wine cellar was reclaimed brick from an old farmhouse that was on the corner of Drake and Farmington, where now Bell Telephone is housed. And so we hauled those over, we cleaned each one, took all the mortar off around it, and used it to create this space. And again, we used all the old barn beams that we could find anywhere in and out of the house to create this frame of the doorway. So I'm going to come down in here and show you again the wine cellar. We didn't take the bricks from the old farmhouse any further than this, and so if you want to step in here, it's very adventurous, and come in here and see. This is a very active wine cellar. In fact, there's quite a few bottles left in here. And I was kidding Ruth earlier that we did have locks because we did have 5 sons. So
those are the drain tiles, right?
Yes, the drain tiles, you know, we just bought them locally and used them for wine cases. And of course, you know, the doors again. So this was our big production, and it's a very, very nice feature.
Let's go up and see the second floor.
And then
I'm not going down there.
you guys, everywhere you look, you'll see that we have put our names in. There's all the names of the children down in here. But these are all, what are these? Hooks from the farm, horseshoes, all kinds of little things that we found, and we just tucked them into the brick. Again, storing them forever in the history of this old barn. Okay, come on, Ruth. I'll show you the room that's the master bedroom. It's a very, very large bedroom, big sunny room, a lot of east sunlight, south sunlight. The only thing we did in this room is that we created a doorway so that we would have access without going into the hall for the bathroom. So that was the only change we made in here. Everything else is the same. All the windows are the original windows. We didn't change any windows. Of course, we pay the price in the heating bill, but that was our preference, to keep the old windows.
These, I don't think were the original windows. I think somebody put them in.
Well, these are the original windows that were put in when it was changed from a barn to a house.
I see.
Yes. So the Schreckenbergs did not change the windows. So whoever put the windows in first, these are them.
Okay, we'll go right through here.
Yes.
This is your
Yeah,
library leading to the bathroom.
Yeah, I can show you what we did, the change that we made here to create an entrance to a room that was a bedroom, and we changed it into a library, which leads in then to the bathroom. So you could see some of the shelves are bare because I'm making a change and sold the house and give up this beautiful space that we've enjoyed. Well, if you step in here, Ruth, I could show you a very interesting space. When we bought this home in '73, or moved in '73, from where you're standing, all the way the space into the bathroom, and all the way to this little back door to the sun porch, was all one bathroom.
Oh my!
It was half the size of the master bedroom. And so my husband looked up and he said, "What is up there?" And they said, "Oh, it's just an attic." So then we start thinking about that and came up with the plan to push the bathroom back and make it a reasonable size. And we opened this and found this huge space on the 4th floor. So when we created the space, we had to open that whole wall, which was a double barn door, which they used to, crate in the apples at one time. So this is the space that we created, and had a fit a stairway in to go up to what we call the garret. And it's a huge loft, and you can imagine all the fun that the boys had, all their friends and everything. Our grandchildren love it. They walk in the house, they take off their coats, and they run up to the garret, to this space that's far away from everyone else and a lot of privacy. And it was very, very, very wonderful part of the house.
I bet that the bathroom must have been from when they had workers here. They left a very large, probably, bathroom for them to use.
Well, they probably didn't care about having a lot of rooms, or they certainly weren't interested in a space to take them up to the attic. All it was to store apples. We have all, or maybe that's what some of those hooks in the wine cellar were. There was a beam with all the hooks that they would grab the apple carts with and bring them in. So that's what some of those hooks were.
Margaret, thank you for opening your house to us and letting us have a picture of it for people to realize what can be done with a barn. It's fantastic.
You're very, very welcome. It's my pleasure to show this in hopes that other people see it and know how much we love the barn and love living here. It gave us not only a sense of history, but it gave us an opportunity to live somewhere so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.